Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Ghesika Herra Kusnandara from class 4A. Now I wanna tell you guys the story from novel what I read entitled Thanks for the Memories by Cecilia Ahern. And so the story starts from a woman named Joyce. She just woke up from her accident and suffered a miscarriage after waiting for 10 years in her marriage. And after that, she had to divorce her husband named Connor. Joyce received a blood donation at the hospital because she lost a lot of blood in the accident. And Joyce received a blood transfusion, which was transfused by a man named Justin, who was forced to have his blood transfused because he was forced by a woman named Sarah. And after she opened her eyes and saw her father waiting for her, she also realized that something was wrong in her brain. Suddenly, and out of nowhere, she got thoughts and insight that she never had before. And even now, she eats meat even though she was a vegetarian before. And when she come home from the hospital with her father, the taxi she was riding in stopped at a traffic light, and she saw the salon on her left and then asked the taxi driver to stop there because out of nowhere again, she thought she wanted to cut her hair. And it was at the salon that was the first meeting with Justin. And when their eyes met each other's, they both really felt connected, and it was like they had known each other for a long time. And they only make some conversation a bit when Justin saw and praised Joyce's cactus, which was a gift from her two best friends, Kate and Frankie. And after the incident at the salon, Justin told his brother Al and his sister-in-law Doris about what happened yesterday. He told that at the hair salon he met a woman he seemed to have seen, which meant it was Joyce. And one day when Joyce just woke up, she was surprised because she had a very strange dream, a very rare dream in her life, and almost felt very real and like a memory. She dreams of having a picnic in a garden full of flowers and twirling a young girl with white blonde hair in her arms, while a woman with red hair looks on and smiles with a camera with her hands. And Joyce tries to remember the next dream, but she fails. And one morning, Joyce smelled smoke from the kitchen. Her father said that he had burned bread earlier, but Joyce knew it was the smell of cigarette smoke. Even though her father had promised that he would not smoke again, Joyce is angry with him because he has a heart problem and threatens to call his doctor on the emergency number. But when the phone was connected, she instead heard the voice of a woman who claimed to be named Bia and was in London. And Joyce felt familiar with the name, and it wasn't long before she remembered that Bia was the girl in her dream. Bia explained that she picked up the phone because she saw the Irish phone number and thought it was her father, which is Justin. And they were both confused because Joyce intended to call the emergency number. And after Joyce knew that Justin lives in London, she asked her father to go to London and plans to come to Bia's ballet in hopes that Justin will be there. And sure enough, when Joyce came to the ballet show, Justin saw Joyce and immediately looked far away so that he could meet and talk to Joyce. But Al and Doris forbid it because soon Bia will appear. And throughout to the show, Justin always monitors Joyce's whereabouts so as not to lose track, but unfortunately, he still loses track of Joyce when Bea is done performing. He plans to immediately head to the exit while his family and Bea head to the bar to celebrate Bea's greatness. And when he chooses to go to the door, Joyce and her father, just like his family, choose to go to the bar. And at the bar, Joyce had a chance to chat with Bea, but she didn't admit that it was Joyce who had previously called her with the Irish number. And at the hotel, Joyce called Kate and Frankie to find out information about Justin via the internet, where he lives and where Justin works. And then the next day, Joyce sent Justin some muffins to his office with a note containing the word "thank you." Joyce wants to thank Justin for transfuse his blood so she can survive. And Justin, who suspects it was a gift from Joyce, immediately rushed out of the room to look for Joyce's whereabouts, but couldn't find her at all. And then came the day when Joyce had to return to Ireland. And a few days later, Justin told Al and Doris that he had to return to Ireland to be a speaker at the seminar held at the gallery, and Joyce already knew that. Al and Doris insist that they go to Ireland with Justin, although at first Justin forbid them, but in the end they are allowed to come to watch the opera. And in the evening, Al and Doris took Justin to the shopping center to prepare for tomorrow's opera event the next night, and it turned out that while there they met Joyce and her two friends. Justin dodged at first, but Doris slowly called for Joyce instead. Joyce, who felt that she was being called, looked at him. How shocked she was when she found out that Justin was there, and the two of them froze without uttering any words. Only the four of them were acquainted, and the worst thing was they made an appointment for dinner for the two of them without their consent. And the next day, the day when Joyce and Justin were going to spend the night together arrived. Justin had arrived earlier than Joyce, but without Justin's knowledge, Joyce actually went to the opera. Justin continued to wait until the waiter informed him that the restaurant would be closing soon. And when Joyce came home, she called her father and there was no answer at all. She started to panic when she found out her father was not home and saw his hurt pills on the floor. She cried with a shaking body while trying to call Frankie. Then Frankie said that her father was in the hospital and forbade her to tell Joyce because he thought he didn't wanna ruin her night with Justin, even though she didn't come the night. And Joyce then immediately rushed to the hospital to meet her father. When Joyce was home, she was lying on her bed thinking about her father who would be able to come home tomorrow. Suddenly the phone rang, and when Joyce received the call, she was a bit shocked because it was Justin's voice. And Justin asked what happened between them. Then when Joyce tried to explain everything, Justin didn't believe it and thought it all made no sense. And then he got angry and immediately hung up the phone. And Joyce felt very sad at that moment. And 2 months passed. After the experience, Joyce would never have thought that the ending would just be like that and painful. And when she just came home from a walk with her father, greeting the neighbors and laughing happily. Suddenly she saw a basket of muffins in front of his father's door and saw a letter that said thank you. And not long after that, she suddenly heard a voice. Justin, who apologized for his treatment for a few months ago and tried to make Joyce believe in him. And then Joyce believed and immediately forgave him. And in the end, they both fall in love. That's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.